everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. Okay, so on today's episode, I'm going to be telling you which cards are going to be getting unbanned in late April when they finalize the Commander bracket system and the game changers, and yeah, there are definitely going to be some unbans, but here I am to tell you exactly which ones are going to be, because I definitely know, okay, I don't know exactly, but these are my thoughts. Let's jump into it. Okay, first up, we're starting off with some artifacts, and yeah, this is just in whatever order that Moxfield has it, and Black Lotus, I will tell you, is probably the, least likely card. One of the least not the least likely, but one of the least likely cards to be unbanned. This one will not be unbanned. I can pretty much guarantee it. 0-mana artifact, tap, sacrifice it, and at 3 mana, if any one color D-mana pool. Yeah, this card is not legal in many formats at all, and definitely never going to be legal in Commander. I'm going to say right now, sorry for all you Black Lotus fans out there that have been holding on to your Black Lotus and waiting to play it. No one out there has been. No, you're just like, oh, this is like $100,000. I probably shouldn't touch it. Yeah, it's probably more so. A card that's not going to be unbanned. Next up, Jeweled Lotus. Now, one of the cards that kind of started this whole thing. Again, like the end of last year, we had some bans. We had some community kind of, feedback from those bans. And then, yeah, to put it lightly. And then Wizards taking over the format essentially through all that. What happens with Jeweled Lotus? This one, I do think will get unbanned. And again, like the kind of creation of the game changers. If you haven't seen my episode on the Commander bracket system, or my episode on the actual what the game changers are, essentially, make sure you check those episodes out. But game changers are kind of like a list of currently 40 cards. Are like, yeah, these cards are absurdly powerful. You can't play them on tier 1 or tier 2. You can play up to 3 of them on tier 3, and then 4 or 5, you can play as many as you want. So, Jeweled Lotus is a card that got banned because, yeah, it's absurdly fast mana. Now, is that okay at tier 3? Maybe. Like, tier 4, yeah, anything goes, essentially, right? But, yeah, I think that Jeweled Lotus, they're going to I think they kind of made the Game Changers list in the way that they made all that to kind of not make an excuse to allow themselves to kind of unban certain things, but it is a good rationale to be able to do so. To be like, yeah, if this other card's, in this Game Changers list, this is also a Game Changer. You're limited to just 3 of them at, tier 3. None for tier 1, 2. So it should be fine for most casual play, essentially. So yeah, I think that Jeweled Lotus, again, artifact for 0, tap, sacrifice at 3 mana, 1 color, only cast your commander. Again, usually for more high-powered decks, obviously, I think that they will justify all that with the Game Changers list and say, this one is now unbanned. It is a Game Changer. Another one, though, again, the other one that was banned along with Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, that was a surprise banning. Artifact for 0, beginning of your upkeep, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, it deals 3 damage to you, taps for 2. Will this also be seen as a game changer as well? I mean, Ancient Tomb. This Ancient Tomb is not as good as this, obviously. This is very, very good. Ancient Tomb is incredibly good, too, obviously. But, that is a game changer, and they could probably, again, put this on the list and be like, yeah, it's, also like this. There is fast mana that is available to play in Commander, but if we put them on the Game Changers list, that does limit them being played in more casual, again, tiers, essentially, 1 and 2. 3, you can only have up to 3 cards, so it does limit, how quickly you can go if you can only use so many fast mana things. So I do think that they will actually unban this one as well. I do think, again, the Game Changers justification, the way that they're going about all of this, I think is partially to, have certain things unbanned. And I do think that Jeweled Lotus and I think that Mana Crypt are 2 of the cards that are like, okay, how do we unban these cards without them becoming problematic and casual again? So that is kind of their solution to that. And again, if you want to hear my thoughts on all of this and the entire concept of it, check out my first episode on this. That being said, I do think Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus will be unbanned. So that is 2 right now. So there you go. Mox Emerald, though. This one's an artifact for 0. Tap to add a green to your mana pool. Yeah, okay, so there are 5 of these that do the exact same thing, but for different colors. So let's just go quickly. Mox Jet. Tap for a black. Mox Pearl. Tap for a white. Mox Ruby. Tap for a red. Mox Sapphire. Tap for a blue. Now, there is no way they would ever just unban one of them and be like, yeah, just Mox Sapphire is fine. The other one's still banned. No, that is not how that would work. They would either unban all of them and put them on the Game Changers list, or unban none of them. I have argued in the past that they technically should be unbanned because, if you have, Soul Ring out there or Mana Crypt out there, they should be, kind of in there. But, yeah, with Mana Crypt being banned, that kind of, destroys that, argument. But, kind of, again, with the Game Changers, essentially saying that we have, again, this list of cards where, again, if you're playing a 1 or 2, these cards won't show up anyways. If you're playing a 3, you can only have up to 3, so that does limit. Again, you can only use 3 of the Moxen, essentially, right, anyways, so that's not going to, like, just destroy the format, you know, if you're playing it at 3. If you're at 4, anything goes, so it doesn't matter, or 5. The whole 4-5 thing's weird. Anyways, yeah, I this is where I'm kind of, like, on the edge of this one, right? I think I'm at, like, 40... I don't think they're going to unban it. And I think that, like, a kind of, like, bad reason for them not to unban it, I think that they will kind of take that into account, which I don't think they should ever take into account price. I think they're going to take price into account. That, like, the Mox are so expensive. I don't think that they should take that into account because, like, they're inconsistent with that anyways right now. Like, Tabernacle is not banned. It's a game changer, but it's a $2,000 card. So, like, you kind of, you're like picking and choosing, like, which ones it makes sense for, but, like, I think that the Mox themselves, I don't think they're going to unban them, even though I think it makes complete sense to unban them if you have this whole game changer policy. So I could be wrong on this, and maybe they do. Because, again, if you have this game changer policy of, like, well, we don't want excessive fast mana, it's like, well, you're already technically limiting that with Tier 1 and Tier 2, right, having none of them. Tier 3, you can only have 3 of them, so that doesn't destroy the format. If you have, like, okay, 3 Mox in your deck, like, that's not just going to absurdly destroy things, because your chance of having those in your deck or in your opening hand are incredibly low. So, yeah, and, like, Soul Rings, I mean, up there, too, obviously, and available. And apparently not a game changer, though they already kind of, like, listed that as, like, well, Soul Ring should be expected. It's kind of a weird one. Yeah, okay, if I have to go one way or the other at the end of the day on Mox, oh goodness, I mean, I'm going to say that I don't think that they're going to be game changers. I do think that they should be game changers if they're going about all this, though. I think it'd be completely understandable if they make them game changers. I think they should. I don't think they will. And I think, again, the reasoning is going to be money. And I don't think that should ever be a reason why something is banned or unbanned. But here we are sometimes. Okay, and again, Tabernacle is not banned, but why? Okay, here we go. I mean, not banned. Again, if it's for money, then it should be banned. Chaos Orb. This one will never be unbanned in Commander. Mono artifact for 2, pay 1, flip it onto the playing area from a height of at least 1 foot. Chaos Orb must turn completely over at least once, or it is discarded with no effect. When it lands, any cards in play that touches are destroyed, as is Chaos Orb. Any dexterity type cards, and there aren't very many of them out there, those are just banned because it's not a level playing field for everyone. Some players who can't do that, it's an unfair thing, essentially. And also, it's just like, okay, I need to get a ruler out to make sure that this is at least a foot. It's a weird card. It's never going to get unbanned in Commander, okay? Next up, Time Vault. Time Vault, I will say right now, I do not think that this one is going to be unbanned, even though they do mention, like, extra turns on... You can't have extra turns at all, I think, on Tier 1. Tier 2 and Tier 3 are no chaining extra turns. So this would, like, automatically be a Tier 4 card. So maybe, again, because, like, you literally could only play this technically on Tier 4. But, like, again, like, you can play Game Changers up to 3 on turn 3. So it's kind of, like, weird. But this is, like, a combo extra turns card. Artifact for 2, enters tap, doesn't tap, you're going to tap step. If you would begin your turn while it's untapped, or while it's tapped, you may skip that turn instead. If you do, untap it, tap, take an extra turn for this one. Obviously, it's incredibly easy to use and abuse, and just regularly untap it and get infinite extra turns. So again, like the whole chaining extra turns thing, this is one where I do think that they're just not going to unban it and put on the game changers, even though, again, they have like those, you know, checks essentially within the actual descriptions of each tier. Again, like, okay, no extra turns at all in 1. No chaining in 2, 3, 4, whatever you want to do. I think that those are already built in, but I don't think that they're going to make an exception for Time Vault because, again, like the weird scenario where it's like, well, I could use it because it's a game changer in 3. It's only one of my 3 game changers in my deck, but like it is just inherently chaining extra turns because that's what you're going to be doing with it. Next up, Panoptic Mirror. Now, this one I've argued for years that it just should be unbanned. It just should be unbanned. There's no reason why this should be banned. It is incredibly slow. It is incredibly slow. Artifact for 5. Imprint X tap. You remove an instant resource card converted may cost X in your hand from the game. Beginning your upkeep, you may copy the imprinted instant sorcery card and play the copy without paying its mana cost. I understand people being worried about, well, then someone's just going to Armageddon every turn. Okay. Number 1, that costs you 9 mana to do, and you have to wait for your upkeep for it to happen. So, it's a 2-card delayed combo that costs 9 mana. Yeah, I mean, there's other things you can do with it, obviously, but like again, okay, limiting it to now not turn one or not tier 1, not tier 2, tier 3. It is not an early game combo again, which is another one of the factors for the whole game changers or not game changers for the actual brackets too. This one better get unbanned. Like, there's no reason Wizards could pretty much ever tell me why this one should be banned with their whole new commander bracket system and the game changers. This is a game changer. This card is not worthy to be banned. It is a slow combo. Very slow combo, basically, is what this is. So, yeah, that probably should be unbanned. Next up, one that was a really big ban back in the day, a while back, Paradox Engine. Legendary artifact for 5. Whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control. This is one that, again, kind of like with like the other cards that are on the ban list and the cards that are in the game changers. Are there cards in the game changers that are like technically better than this? Probably, but like I think the annoyance factor of this one makes it so that this might not be unbanned. Like, this is another one kind of like the Moxen where, like, for different reasons, this one's probably like again 30-40% I would say of getting unbanned. Maybe 45. I think it's kind of like on the line-ish, but I think that Wizards won't unban it just because it's an obnoxious card. This is a card that makes turns just play forever on forever, and essentially, again, like, indeterminate wins as well. Like, you're just like, okay, like, I keep kind of like storming off in a way, but like, I'm just gonna take a 30-minute turn and see what happens. I might not win. Okay. And this can happen for like so many decks out there just by throwing this in a lot of decks. So it is a card that, again, like, is it more powerful than certain things that aren't unbanned? No, necessarily. Not necessarily some things on the game changers, but like, is it something that, again, like, is obnoxious in a way? Yeah, so I don't think Wizards is going to unban it, even though technically it'd only be, again, tier 3 that could play it or above. I don't think that they're going to unban this one, so maybe. Again, I think like more of the modern bans like have a chance, but like maybe, but I don't think Paradox Engine's going to make the cut. Okay, moving on to the creatures, and yeah, Dockside, again, another one of the cards that was famously banned at the end of last year, one that had been discussed for a long time on whether it get banned or not. Dockside is a crazy good card. 1/2 Goblin Pirate for 2 mana in red, enters the battlefield to create extra tokens or exceed number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control. Does this get unbanned? Like, this is one where, like, the annoyance factor is there, as well as just being absurdly powerful in a format like Commander. Again, literally counting all artifacts and enchantments your opponents control, including, like, tokens, too, including treasures. This is incredibly quick. It's incredibly combo-y as well. This is, I think, kind of like the barometer. Again, one of those cards that's like, does Wizards, again, utilize this Game Changers approach, this new list, to, like, unban a lot of things and to say, like, hey, it's tier 3 or above. You can only have 3 of those cards on tier 3. I kind of think they might unban this one, actually. Like, the more and more I think about it, like, do I want them to ban it? Like, no. But, like, do I think that they'll unban it? I think they might. Again, I think that kind of their approach to this is like, okay, let's, quote-unquote, in their opinion, like, fix the mistake that was made with certain bans, essentially, recently. And, like, I already told you that I think Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt will be unbanned, I think, again. I think Dockside might get unbanned too. So like the only ban that actually happened at the end of last year would be Nadu, which I probably shouldn't just spoil this right now, but yeah, is going to stay banned. So there you go. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, next up, Ryo, Soratami, Ascendant. This is what I think, like, part of like the unbannings too, are like people calling for unbannings. Like maybe that's why like Panoptic Mirror doesn't get unbanned, even though it should, is because like there's not a lot of people who are like, I really need a Ryo to be unbanned. Like, okay, it probably won't happen. This is a 1/1 Moonfolk Monk, legendary creature, flying for 2 mana in blue. Whenever you cast 4th spell of a turn, or whenever the 4th spell of a turn is played, I should say, flip it, then count your opponent's spells as well. Flips over into a legendary enchantment, counter the first spell played by each opponent each turn. This is an obnoxious commander, essentially, is what it is. Like, this is a commander, like, if this was a, like, if they used to have, banned in the 99, or, banned as commander, or whatever, essentially, like, this would be banned as commander. Like, it would just be fine in the 99, okay? But because it is a commander, it is, yeah, just an obnoxious commander that, like, you get it out, and you just say, like, okay, I very easily cast 4 spells immediately. Or, like, I cast some things, you try to counter one, and then I cast something else. And then it flips, and then all of a sudden, yeah, you can't play spells. You're just getting things countered throughout the game. So I do think that this one will probably stay banned. I think, again, because, like, partially because, like, yeah, it's like it's obnoxious. And like again, there's probably not a lot of people who are like really calling for it to be unbanned. So that unfortunately like might be a factor of it too. Like I don't. You could probably argue that it should be unbanned, maybe, but like I don't know. Because again, like if you're playing a 3, like okay, you're okay playing against a Rhino deck, maybe not, probably not. Okay, Rafael Slander Emissary. This one I do believe will get unbanned. A 2/1 Elf Legend for 2 mana and green. Tap add 1 green mana to your mana pool for each forest you control. Like yeah, this is absurdly fast mana, absolutely. But like, are there commanders out there that are more powerful with faster things that can also combo too? Like Kinnan, which is now a game changer and not banned. Yeah. So I do think that this one's a very good commander. I don't think it should be banned. I think I've argued in the past that it shouldn't be banned anyways. I do think that they will put this one on the game changers list. I do think so. So there you go. And obviously very good, obviously in the 99 of decks as well. Like if you're playing a forest deck, a mono green deck with a lot of forests, or if you're playing an elf deck, yeah, you're going to be considering it. So I do think that this one actually will get unbanned. Okay, Hull Breacher. Hull Breacher is a 3/2 Merfolk Pirate with Flash for 3 mana in blue. If an opponent would draw a card except the first one they draw on each of their draw steps, instead you create a treasure token. Okay, so this is again another one of those cards, like another barometer card, kind of like Dockside, where it's like, how far do they take this? Like, how many cards do they actually take off the ban list? Because essentially, like, I'd say most players are probably playing level tier 3 and below, I would think, for the most part. I would say like a lot of the game changers are pretty expensive cards too, like and like kind of like higher end kind of play as well. So like if you have to limit yourself to 3 or less, essentially, like is Hull Breacher like a problematic card for, I mean, it's a problematic card for like, you know, like wheel decks essentially, but you just basically win. Yeah, this is another one of those cards where again, like it's absurd value. Is it more value than certain cards in the, you know, game changers list that aren't banned? No. Like, it's just like an obnoxious card though too. Again, like I think like if Dockside gets unbanned, this will also get unbanned. I think that again, like they might just be pretty kind of pretty open with a lot of the cards like coming into the game changers list and say that kind of solves the problem, even though it might not. But yeah, I do think Hull Breacher does have a chance of getting unbanned. And if I had to lean one way or the other, I don't know, like, it's because like this one's kind of annoying too, though. Like literally you just lock players out of the game if you like you're wheeling basically. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say this does get unbanned. I'm going to say that they go like really hard into the paint to start. Essentially, I think that they're going to unban a decent amount of things. And I think that, like, again, they're going to be like, well, again, like, you're not playing at 1 or 2, so, like, it's not ruining, like, those casual games. At a 3, like, you can only have up to 3 game changers, and, yeah, so I think this might get unbanned, actually. I think it might get unbanned. I think, like, the more modern kind of bans, essentially, are more likely to get flipped than the ones that have been banned forever. Like, the Moxen are less likely to get unbanned, even though, again, technically, we've got a lot of other fast ban in the format where we have for a long time, and then finally some of them got banned, and then they're going to get unbanned. Okay, so I will say that Hull Breacher, I think, will get unbanned. Next up. Never. Never. Leovold Emissario Trest, a 3/3 Elf Advisor for 3 mana in Sultai. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. Whenever you have a permanent you control, or whenever you are permanent you control because the target is still ability opponent controls, you draw a card. Yeah, this is like a Hull Breacher, but your commander. So again, if you had banned as commander, yeah, this Arayo would get unbanned, but we don't. So because of that, this is gonna stay banned because this is just, oh, you play it, you wheel once, you win the game. That's literally what it is. You wheel, you win. Okay, done. Super easy, super obnoxious, super annoying. I don't think this one's ever going to get unbanned. Again, if they bring back banned as commander, yes. If they don't, no. Okay, one that actually literally will never get unbanned. And again, this is a more modern ban. Lutri the Spellchaser. And I know there's people who like argue till the day they die that this should never have been banned, but I completely disagree with you. This is a 3/2 Elemental Otter for 3 mana. And is it companion? Each non-land card of your starting deck has a different name. Basically, are you playing commander? Cool. You meet that requirement. Flash enters the battlefield. If you cast a copy target instant source spell you control, you choose targets for the copy. Basically, just if you have Is It in your color identity at all. So yeah, obviously Is It to 3 colors that have, you know, Is It in them, to 4, to obviously 5. Yeah, congratulations. You get a free extra card, no matter what. Literally just get a free extra card. It doesn't matter what this does. Even if this literally didn't copy things that it came to play, if it was just a 3/2 for 3 mana, it does not matter. You just get an inherent advantage just for playing a certain color combination. That's it. That is literally just get an extra card. They will never unban this one. Never, 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 never. So, and maybe like someone's gonna play this clip back to me in like 10 years and be like, you said never and it happened. Okay, so yeah, Lutri, the Spell Chaser, again, even though I think more of the modern ones could get unbanned than the older ones, I don't think that's the case. Next up, Nadu Winged Wisdom, not going to get unbanned. This is a mistake. They've had articles out there like how it's like a design mistake. Initially, it was a different card. It was different. It was designed differently, and they like last minute changed it without testing it because they had to make a quick decision on it. Ironically, they made that change, I think, because they're like, well, that's not going to be great for Commander, and then they changed it to something that's like really bad for Commander. So I think it would have been fine actually as the initial design. They're not going to go back on this one. A 3/4 Bird Wizard flying for 3 mana in Simic. Creatures you control have, whenever this creature comes to the target of a spell or ability, really top card of your library. It's a land card on the battlefield, otherwise put in your hand. Triggers only once, twice each turn. It's an obnoxious card. It is a commander that has, like, again, like those indeterminate wins, essentially, where it's like, okay, I'm doing all these things. My turn's taking 40 minutes, and, like, maybe I win, maybe I don't, essentially. Like, I'm moving Shuko, like this equipment, around again and 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 again. It's something that, like, there's not really a limitation on it. Again, like, triggers only twice each turn per creature. So yeah, it is just basically like you're playing 40 minutes on your own. Have fun. It is one that's not going to get unbanned. Braids. Free braids! Okay, again, unfortunately, in my opinion, should be unbanned, won't be unbanned. It is one that, again, falls in line with the, okay, if there was banned as a commander, yes, this would definitely get unbanned. That is not the case. So I don't think it's going to get unbanned, even though I think it definitely should. This Arayo, I think, like, again, should get unbanned, really, like, because you're sitting down at the table, and, like, again, at very least these days, again, with, like, the commander bracket system, like, you're at a 3. At the very least, you're at a 3 by playing this as your commander, okay? Is that still a bit much by, okay, turn 1, braids by, using Dark Ritual and something else, okay? And then the game's over for your opponents. 2/2 minion for 4 mana in black. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, player sacrifice an artifact, creature, land. You basically get braids out quick, and all of a sudden, your opponents are locked out of the game. You probably have ways to take advantage of this, like, oh, I'm sacrificing things that make more things. Cool. My opponents don't have that. They don't get to keep anything in play. They just lose. So yeah, braids, again, completely fine for the 99 as a commander. Yeah, problematic, but again, like, if you're sitting down at a table and someone's like, I'm playing braids, it's like, could you not, please? No. Yeah, okay. So I do think that this one will just stay banned. It's going to be a bit cleaner for Wizards not to unban it, unless, again, they ever do the, banned as commander. They won't. I don't think they will. Okay, Golos House Pilgrim. One of my favorite commanders of all time. 3/5. Ledger Artifact Creature Scout for 5 mana. Enters the battlefield and may search your library for a land card. Put that card on the battlefield. Tap, then shuffle your library. Pay 7 mana in total. Exile the top 3 cards of your library and play them this turn without paying the mana cost. This is one that actually might get unbanned. It might. So the rules committee, I think the reasoning initially for banning this was like, it was becoming, the like 5-color decks were becoming like, not homogenous, but it's like, it's hard to argue against using Golos as your commander versus any other 5-color commander, essentially. It's a very good commander, but like, again, like compared to, like, should this be banned whereas Kinnan is not banned? Like, no, Kinnan is much more powerful. Kinnan is absurdly more powerful than this. Like, it's not even arguable, I don't think. So, like, there are commanders that are on that Game Changers list that are OP, that are above this. But this is banned just because it's 5-color and players like to play 5-color good stuff. And for some reason, the rules committee didn't like people playing 5-color good stuff. Basically, was like the reasoning behind it. So, yeah, I don't think that there's like a logical explanation for this to be banned because it's not more powerful than certain commanders that are on the ban list. Now, what they could say essentially with this one is, again, like, indeterministic win conditions, kind of like, oh, okay, I pay 7 mana off the top of my library, I hit this extra turn spell. Okay, I pay 7 mana, I hit the extra turn spell. But the thing is, again, with that, is that that's tier 4, right? No chaining extra turn spells. So that kind of solves that. So this being unbanned, again, I think it maybe it's because, like, again, I had a Golos deck. Yeah, I do think that this one, again, if you're trying to say, like, all other things are equal, we're putting all these cards on a level playing field and saying that they should be banned or not banned for, like, the same reasons, essentially, I don't think it's arguable that this one should be banned right now, compared to, again, Kinnan is not banned. Kinnan is more powerful. This is not more powerful. The only reason this was banned was because 5-color shouldn't be able to just all do the same thing with Golos or whatever. So I do think that this one should be unbanned. Do I think it will be unbanned? You know what? I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna put that into the world. Okay, I'm gonna say yes. Golos will be unbanned. Okay, and I don't think I came into this episode thinking that. So there we go. All right. Prophet of Crufix. I don't think this one will be unbanned. 2/3 Human Wizard for 5 mana in Simic. Untap all creatures and lands you control during each player's untap step. You may cast creature cards with delayed flash. You basically get a turn on everyone else's turn. That is crazy. This is kind of like a giant extra turn spell, but you're just playing along with someone else. Again, just like literally, hey, Seedborn Muse. It's just basically like Seedborn Muse plus like Vidalcan Ori in a way, but for creatures. So yeah, I don't think that this one's gonna be unbanned. It's like incredibly powerful. It changes the entire dynamic of the game, and it's incredibly annoying. So I don't think that they're gonna unban this one again. Even though I did say, like the more recent bans probably more likely to be unbanned than older ones. Not in this case. Now, one that is an older ban that definitely is gonna get unbanned, in my opinion, like maybe the most unbannable card out of everything, Primeval Titan. 6/6 giant with trample for 6 mana in green. Enters the battlefield or attacks. Makes your life to 2 land cards. When battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. Yeah, this one probably should have been unbanned a long time ago. A long time ago. There are more powerful cards in Commander that are not banned. That's just a fact. Like the vast majority of the cards, I would argue, in the Game Changers are more powerful than this, and they are not banned. So why is this banned? Don't know. Yeah, you can go search for whatever 2 lands you want. Sure, there's some combos in there. Okay, well, no early combos or whatever, so for 1 and 2, so, and it's gotta be a 3 at least, and, yeah, it is, it's a card that's gotta get unbanned. It just has to get unbanned. There's no way it's not gonna get unbanned. Next up, Sylvan Primordial. Now, this is where I will argue where I don't think this will be unbanned, but I do think it should be unbanned because, technically, the way that they have things worded and phrased, it's like a game changer, but only for tier 4 card, kind of in a weird way to say that, basically. But again, like they have like no mass land denial in tiers 1, 2, and 3. No mass land denial, tiers 1, 2, and 3. All of them have that. This is mass land denial, but is it fine for tier 4? Yes, it would be tier 4, tier 5. 6/8 Avatar Reach for 7 mana in green. Enters the battlefield for each opponent. Destroy target non-creature permanent that player controls for each permanent destroyed this way. Search life for a forest card. Put on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your library. Again, is this anywhere near like a OP CDH card? Like, no, it is not. It is a card that is obnoxious, but again, like if you are kind of checking all the boxes and saying like, okay, like it's a game changer, number 1, number 2, it can't fit in 3 either because it is mass land denial. Yeah, I think that could be unbanned. I don't think that they want to muddy the waters in that way, though, by having, like, this separate group of, like, game changers that are, like, you should probably just have it as a 4 because, like, you can't technically utilize it as a 3, if that makes any sense. So I don't think that they're going to unban it for that reason. I think it's going to stay banned. I do think it should be technically unbanned because, again, like, is this any worse than Armageddon? Like, kind of like, in a casual setting. I mean, Armageddon's worse. They're both of them are bad at casual setting, I should say. But, like, in a high end of Commander power setting, is it any worse than Armageddon? Like, no. Like, it's mass land denial. Like, you get ramp too, obviously. It's incredibly good. But, like, again, with this new way that they're putting things out there, I don't think they're going to unban it. I should say that. But, like, I think that there could be a reasoning to unban it. Okay, next up. Grizzlebrand. 7/7 Demon for 8 mana in total in black. Flying lifelink, pay 7 life, draw 7 cards. This is one where I think like it would be a big swing for them to unban this. It would be a huge swing for them to unban this. I don't think they will. I think like again because of the commander factor of it, like I play my commander, I draw as many cards as I want basically. Like okay, I probably gain some life ahead of time to do so or whatever, or I just draw certain cards, I play certain things for free, I gain some life or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, again, like, I'm just drawing my entire deck because Commander, you've got an absurd life pool, and it's very easy to cheat things out like this. So, yeah, for the 99, you could maybe argue for it, but again, as a Commander, I don't think they're going to go quite that far to be like, yeah, Grizzlebrand's out. But again, it could be a big swingy thing for them to actually do that. Okay, next up, Sundering Titan. Basically the exact same thing as Stone Primordial, kind of in a way-ish, where, like, the argument could be made where, yeah, technically, again, like, the Commander bracket system solves for this. Like, again, it technically solves for it by saying, like, no mass land denial in tiers 1, 2, 3. So, like, tier 4, it'd be completely fine, like, to play in. 7/10 Golem for 8 mana in total. Enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, choose a land of each basic land type, then destroy those lands. Yeah, it's mass land destruction on repeat on ETB. Same thing with Stone Primordial, essentially. I don't think they're going to unban it because, again, I think that muddies the waters a little bit. Like, oh, it's a tier 3 deck, I can use it. It's like, no, you really can't, because like it also, even though it's a game changer and it's tier 3, it is mass land denial. Very easy mass land denial to use and abuse. So yeah, I don't think that they're going to muddy the waters in that way. I do think that this one will just stay banned, even though technically within their new, way that they format things, I do think it could just be, again, explained to be unbanned in the game changers. Next up, I own a Shield of Maria, a card that should never have been banned in my opinion, ever, and basically saying that, well, Painter Servant's unbanned, so this can't be banned. Oh no, a 2-card combo that costs 11. My goodness. 7/7 Angel for 9 mana in total in white. Flying, enters the battlefield, chooses a color, your opponents can't cast spells of chosen color. It's a mean card. It's a card that can shut down monocolor decks. If someone's playing a monocolor deck, sure. Is it overly powerful compared to the things that are in the game changers? Absolutely not. And like, oh, it's because it's a commander. You're in mono white and this costs 9. You're playing with a disadvantage with a commander that's 9 mana in mono white, okay? Yeah, it is a card that they're not going to unban, I think, just because, like, the feel bads. It's a card that should be able to be unbanned and should be completely fine on tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. I'll be super surprised if they unban this one. I'm going to say that they're not going to unban it. I think they should unban it. Next up, Emrakul the Aeon Storm. This is another one where, like, they could just go really big and kind of make a big splashy kind of decision where they unban this one, essentially. This one, let's read through it first, and then I'll kind of give you my final verdict on it. 15/15 Eldrazi for 15 mana can't be countered. When you cast a spell, take an extra turn for this one. Flying protection with spells that are 1 or more colors, neither are 6. When it's put in the grave from anywhere, it's on our shelves in your library. Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility. Again, like this actually does open up the door as a possibility for it to be unbanned. Will it get unbanned? I don't know. Again, like, it is 15 mana, right? Of course, there are ways to cheat into play, but like most ways you cheat into play, you don't get the cast trigger on it too, so you don't get that extra turn, which is a huge factor, obviously. Yeah. Oh, and like, yes, as a commander, but like, it's a commander that costs 15. Yes, there's ways to ramp quickly. Yes, all those things. Will they unban? I think it would be a big splashy move for them to unban this one. It'd be a very big splashy move for them to unban this one. I don't think that they're gonna actually pull the trigger on it. I don't think that they're gonna do that. I mean, I do think obviously the game changers will change over time. They'll see how things go. This could be like a step 2 change potentially if things go well for them in the first kind of round. Later in the year, maybe they're like, all right, Emrakul's unbanned. Like, I don't think that they're going to go that way, though. I think, like, my gut says, like, 40% chance of this getting unbanned. I don't think that it will get unbanned, though. It'd be big and splashy, and Eldrazi players would be very excited about it. But I don't think it's going to get there. I don't think so. Moving on to the enchantments. There are 4 of them currently on the ban list. Fast Bond is one of them, and like the name says, it's fast. Enchant for a single green mana. You play any number of lands on each of your turns. When you play a land, what's the first land you play? It deals 1 damage to you. Yeah, 1 life lost to just cheat lands into play is incredibly powerful. This is like fast mana and then some. Yeah, I don't see this one being unbanned. I don't see it. It is like a different version of fast mana kind of in a way. There are fast mana cards that are currently unbanned, obviously, and that are on the game changers list. I could see them potentially justifying it. I don't think they will try, though. I don't think that they will try, and I don't know if they should either. But yeah, I mean, this is just a card where if you just have it in your opening hand and you play it, like for certain decks out there, you're just like, oh, I win. Like I dumped the rest of my lands into play. I did this and I won. Like, so yeah, I don't think that they're gonna do that. I don't think they're gonna do that. What they definitely won't do is limited resources. Enchant for a single white mana. Comes into play, each player chooses 5 lands they control and sacrifice the rest. As long as there are 10 or more lands in play, players can't play lands. This locks out the game very easily in Commander, and nothing happens. So yeah, I don't see this one being unbanned at all. Like, it is mass land now, so technically, they could be like, well, it's 4 or 5. I mean, I don't know. It's the juice isn't worth the squeeze for that, right? Like, it literally is just like, this is an obnoxious card. And again, like, yeah, for a one-on-one format, it makes a lot more sense. In Commander, it's like, hey, everyone, well, we each get 2 lands or 3 lands, and that's it. And the game's over. And yay, there's not a lot of people pushing for this one to get unbanned, so I don't think it would. Like, and again, here's the thing. It kind of like in that same, like, could it get unbanned technically? Like, Sylvan Primordial. ish kind of like, okay, no mass land denial, like for 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it could be, but should it? I don't know. Next up, Recurring Nightmare. This one probably should have been unbanned. And I think it will get unbanned. Enchantment for 3 mana in black, sacrifice a creature, return it to its owner's hand, put target creature card from your graveyard into play, place spell as a sorcery. I mean, it's a combo card, absolutely. It's a very powerful card, but yeah, it's a combo card, and I mean, there's more powerful combos out there. Like, Thassa's Oracle is a better combo card, and it is in the Game Changers list. So unban it and put it in the Game Changers list. There you go. Solves the problem. Next up, Yawgmoth's Bargain. Enchant for 6 mana in black. Skip your draw step. Pay 1 life. Draw a card. Yeah, this one probably could get unbanned. Yeah, it might. I mean, we've got Necropotence already. That is, Necropotence is a legal commander card. And if you haven't seen the Game Changers list, it's not on there. It somehow is not on there. I don't know how that one wasn't put on the Game Changers list. Glacial Chasm was put on the Game Changers list, but Necropotence wasn't. What? Yeah, Yawgmoth's Bargain. I mean, obviously there's a difference between this and Necropotence. Where Necropotence, like, the whole, like, exile and like, things go in the graveyard and gone, and end of the turn kind of things. But this is obviously like absurd card draw. It's kind of unlike Grizzlebrand, like, it's not a commander, obviously, so like it's not like a command zone issue. I do think that they could unban this one probably and put the Game Changers list. It's super powerful. Are there more powerful cards on the Game Changers list? I do think so. So like, it is a very powerful card. 6 mana still. Like, it's a very good card. I think it could be unbanned. I'm gonna go with it's kind of like one of those, like, where they probably they probably just unban certain things that are more recent again on this first one. Maybe some other things that, like, should have been unbanned years ago. And then, like, this could be, again, like a tier 2 unbanning, like, later in the year, like the Emrakul. I could see, like, Yawgmoth's Bargain, Emrakul, unbanned. We shall see. Next up, Instance. Here we go. Ancestral Recall. Hate to burst your bubble. If you've got an Ancestral Recall just lying around somewhere, not going to get unbanned. Instant for a single blue mana, target player draws 3 cards. Yeah, I don't care if you only have, like, this in your deck, and 2 other Game Changers at tier 3 or whatever. It's just upset. There's nothing else anywhere near like it when it comes to the efficiency of card draw with it. Like, there is not anything else like it when it comes to just a 1 mana draw 3. Like, literally, there's not even 1 mana draw 2 anywhere. There isn't 1 mana draw 2 instant speed. Like, there's not. I mean, okay, Brainstorm. Okay, Brainstorm, you're only going up in 1 card advantage. Okay, you really are. So, like, no, there is nothing else out there that's like this. I mean, okay, I guess what's the boat one? Oh, my brain's not working right now with the delve. But yeah, that one also takes building up to get to. It's all sorcery speed. This one is the delve. This one is, again, it's never gonna get unbanned. It just won't. Next up, Flash, a card that okay, CDH players out there, please earmuffs real quick. Should never have been banned. Number 1. Number 2, should be unbanned right now. Number 3, probably won't get unbanned to appease CDH players. That's probably what's going to be happening with this one, where is this card ever ban-worthy in casual? No, it is not. This is one of those cards, like, ironically, that, like, it shouldn't be even on the Game Changers list. Like, it should just be completely unbanned without it being a game changer. It should just be a card that you can play in tier 1, tier 2. Because, like, if you're not doing, like, a quick combo with it, which you can't in tier 1 or tier 2 anyways, like, it's fine. Instant speed for 2 mana in blue. You may put a creature card from your hand on the battlefield. If you do, sacrifice unless you pay its mana cost, reduced by 2. It's a way to cheat on ETBs, basically, or death triggers. Yeah, it's a card that shouldn't be banned in Commander, except for it was banned to appease CDH players, basically. So, which I think is fair and fine, but, like, if Wizards is taking control of the ban list now and they're making decisions, will they take that into account? That, like, this was a purely for CEDH ban without taking into account, like, if this is played in casual at all? Like, yeah, like, I don't think that they're gonna cause a commotion, that they're gonna cause any problems by unbanning it. There's not a lot of casual players out there that'd be like, yeah, unban it. I need this unbanned. So because, again, there's not a lot of push for it to get unbanned, I don't think it'll be unbanned. I think they'll just leave it on the ban list. I don't think that, again, like, it's a weird card where, like, it should just kind of skip the Game Changers and just go straight back to being unbanned, basically. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be unbanned because of the CDH factor, but, like, it's a weird scenario compared to a lot of these other cards. Next up, Gifts Ungiven, most definitely, in my opinion, should get unbanned. I think it will get unbanned. An instant for 4 mana in blue. Search life to 4 cards with different names. Reveal them. Target opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Put the chosen cards in your graveyard, the rest in your hand, and shuffle. What's the card? Is it Intuition? Basically, does the exact same thing, essentially, but it's not banned. Yeah, there's more powerful cards out there that are banned, or that are not banned right now and are on the Game Changers list. So, and Intuition's not even on the Game Changers list. Yeah, I think that this probably will get unbanned. Again, like, if it's like, okay, like, when you're playing with, like, some combo things, yeah, tier 1, tier 2, probably not. But again, this can't go in tier 1, tier 2. It's a Game Changer. It's tier 3 then. And at that point, is Gifts Ungiven fine? Absolutely. It's a fine card. So yeah, I do think that this is a card that should get unbanned, and I do think it will get unbanned. I think that Wizards will be reasonable, and they will unban this card. Moving on to lands. Karakas. No, never going to get unbanned, I don't think. Legendary land, tap for a white, tap, return target legendary creature to its owner's hand. It is just an obnoxious card in Commander because it's a land that can just keep, well, protecting your commander, which is amazing, but also just bouncing your opponent's commanders for no reason. Just, oh, I've got an extra land just lying around. Okay. Oh, you played your commander? Oh, it cost you 5 mana? You just paid that? All right. Tap my 1 land. Bounce it back to your hand. Yeah, this is not going to get unbanned just because of the entire commander format being around legendary creatures, being around your commander's legendary creature. It's not going to get unbanned. So I might be, not more shocked about this one getting unbanned than Black Lotus, but like, I'd be very, very shocked. Okay, next up, Library of Alexandria. This one, I mean, it's another one of those cards that I believe is banned kind of in some aspect of it, like because it's incredibly expensive. It's a very good card as well, obviously. Land that can tap for colors, tap, draw a card, only if you've got exactly 7 cards in your hand. I mean, if you're staying at 7, if you've got different ways to draw cards, obviously, or if you just, like, keep drawing and getting it, it's an amazing card advantage land. Absolutely. Is it more ban-worthy than, like, Gaia's Cradle as a land? I don't think so. So, like, I do think that, like, you could argue that this should be unbanned, because, again, it should be fine at, again, like, tier 3, tier 4, I would say. Again, especially tier 3, it's, like, only one of your 3 game changers. It's a very good card, absolutely. Is it a card that should be banned with, like, the new way of thinking about the brackets, the game changers? I don't think so, so I think this should be unbanned. And again, it might just be one of those cards where they keep banned because it's like, well, it's expensive, like the Mox, and it's like, you shouldn't ever take price into account because you're not doing that in other ways. Again, you're not taking account for Tabernacle at Panel Vale. You're saying, like, that's just a game changer, but it's expensive, but it's not banned. But this is banned, but it's expensive. I don't think that, again, price should be taken into account. I do think it might be for this one. I think it should be unbanned. I don't think they will unban it, though. All right, Tolarian Academy. Okay, here we go. This is a land that, again, we have other examples of lands that are basically the exact same thing, but different. We've got Gaia's Cradle, we've got Sarah's Sanctum. Gaia's Cradle taps for based on your green based on your creatures. Sarah's Sanctum taps for white based on your enchantments. Tolarian Academy is a legendary land that taps for blue based on your artifacts. Artifacts are the easiest thing to use and abuse in basically any format. And there are plenty of artifacts out there that basically cost nothing, and you just throw them into play, and then all of a sudden you have a land that taps for absurd amount of mana. Now, is this card substantially better to the point where you couldn't call it a game changer versus Gaia's Cradle? I don't know the answer to that. I think that this one, again, might be one where they put Sarah's Sanctum on that Game Changers list, whereas Sarah's Sanctum is a very powerful card, yes. It is not to the level of Gaia's Cradle. It just isn't. And they put it on the Game Changers list, and that could be like a signal that maybe they're like, okay, well, those two are Game Changers. Tolarian Academy is a Game Changer as well. Like, these are cards that basically do the exact same thing, but for different kinds of permanents, and so they're all grouped together in that way. Do they do that? Do they make that decision? Initially, I don't know. That'd be a huge splashy decision to be like, yeah, Tolarian Academy, unbanned. Game changer now. Gosh, okay, if I had to go one way or the other, I'm going to say, no, they won't unban it. But again, kind of like the Emrakul thought of like, okay, the tier 2, the later in the year decision to unban more things potentially. I could see that happening with that, where they're like, oh, okay, things worked out if they work out, with this kind of list and that kind of stuff. I do think that it's not an immediate unban, but it is one that they could, again, justify where it's like, well, Gaia's Cradle and Sarah's Sanctum are on here, and this is going to join as well because it does the exact same thing, but better. So, yeah, I think that could potentially, again, be that. Next up, let's move on to Sorceries. And first up, we've got Balance. Now, Balance is an interesting one because, again, it falls into that exact same, hey, is this actually worse than, a lot of other mass land destruction things? Really? And again, if you have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 that say no mass land destruction at all, no mass land denial at all, is it one that they'll just keep banned because, again, like, they don't want to add confusion, I guess, to, like, okay, it's a game changer, but you can't use it, like, in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Yeah. Sorcery for 2 mana and white. Each player chooses a number of lands that control a number of lands controlled by the player who controls the fewest. Sacrifice the rest. Players discard cards, sacrifice creatures the same way. Obviously, this does more, again, with, lands, discard, and sacrificing creatures. That being said, obviously, lands is the main thing that is the problematic part of this. I don't think they're going to unban it because there's probably not a big push to unban it. But again, they could unban it, and the justification is, well, again, you can't play it tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So, yeah, it's fine. Tier 4 would be fine with this. Moving on. Channel. Not going to get unbanned. Sorcery for 2 mana in green. Until end of turn, anytime you can activate a mana ability, you may pay 1 life. If you do, add colors to your mana pool. This is just you play it and you probably win the game kind of a card. I mean, there are certain commanders, obviously, that are like also X mana commanders as well. So you're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. Just drop this out. Just drop this down, and just all of a sudden, yeah, okay, cool. Or like, yeah, I mean, I guess generic mana as well. I mean, I guess you can't play in a generic commander deck, but you know what I mean. I guess Golos you could if it got unbanned. Yeah, it's just absurd ritual that you use life, which again, life is a resource that's very abundant in Commander for mana. It's not going to get unbanned, I don't believe. Next up, this card actually above all the others, even above Black Lotus, probably will never get unbanned. Just like the least unbannable card of all time. Charizard, yeah, this basically is like, hey, everyone plays a mini game, and then I think, what is it? Whoever like loses the mini game like loses half their life. So yeah, playing mini games within Magic, I don't think it's something Wizards wants to allow in basically any format, so it's not going to be a card that is legal in Commander. Time Walk, one of the most absurd extra turn spells of all time. It's way too cheap, just 2 mana. Not sure why the arena version popped up here, but it did. Take an extra of this one, 2 mana. It's too efficient. It's just too efficient. It will not be unbanned. It just won't. It will not be unbanned. Falling Star for the exact same reason earlier of the other dexterity card I talked about, Chaos Orb. Sorcery for 3 mana, flip it onto the battlefield from a height at least 1 foot, must turn at least 360 degrees, has no effect. When it lands, 3 damage each creature that touches, any creature damaged by it that are not destroyed become tapped. Yeah, I mean, this is a card that is, again, a dexterity card. They will not unban these, yeah, just because it's a dexterity card, so there you go. Tinker. This is a card that I do think could get unbanned. Should it get unbanned? I don't know. Sorcery for 3 mana in blue. At the time you play Tinker, sacrifice an artifact, search life for an artifact card upon the battlefield, shuffle your library afterward. Like, again, tier 1, tier 2. Yeah, I can understand why it's not going to be played in those. But, like, tier 3? Could this see play in a tier 3 deck? Like, is that a fair card-ish for a tier 3 deck compared to some of the other OP cards that are in, the game changers that aren't banned? Maybe. Again, like, this is kind of one of those things where, like, casual, like, again, like, the whole thing is like, okay, you get Blightsteel Colossus and you win. Like, that's basically it, right? You sacrifice miscellaneous tiny servo or whatever it is, you get Blightsteel Colossus, you win the game. Is that okay for tier 3? Yeah, that's going to be one of those things where maybe this is, like, not unbanned right away, but maybe in, like, a tier 2 unban. I could potentially see this one. Maybe not as much as some of the other ones, but I could potentially see this one getting unbanned. We shall see. Trade Secrets, never going to get unbanned. Sorcery for 3 mana in blue. Target opponent draws 2 cards. You draw up to 4 cards. That opponent may repeat this process as many times as they choose. I mean, obviously, this is, initially, if it was used in, a 1-to-1 game, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, my opponent can choose, for what's beneficial for them. With this, you can obviously, in Commander, make a deal with another opponent and be like, let's just get a ton of cards, and the other opponents don't get anything. So, ha. Yeah, I mean, this is a card that just is inherently broken in a multiplayer format, so it's not going to be unbanned because of that. Moving on. Upheaval, again, a card that technically should just be unbanned. Just technically should be unbanned, because it is no different, really, than essentially all of the other, just like mass land, mass everything destruction kind of things as well. So technically should be unbanned. Again, with the actual system, like, if it was unbanned, it'd be like a game changer that has like an asterisk on it where it's like, okay, it's technically like a tier 4 card, really, because you can't mass land denial, and this is mass everything denial. Torch for 6 mana, bounce all non-land permanents back to owner's, or sorry, all permanents to owner's hands, not non-land. Yeah, this is a card that, again, technically, by the letter of the law of like other things being unbanned, like Worldfire, this probably should be unbanned as well. But it's probably not going to get unbanned because there's not like a really big push for it to get unbanned, even though kind of with their new bracketing system, they really could, because they're like, hey, if you're playing at a 4, you should be able to expect this, essentially, 4 or 5. So there you go. Even though it's kind of weird because like I do think that like 4 is technically just CDH, but we can argue about all that later. But like, okay, like what casual, even like the highest end of casual play, you don't play Armageddon. Like you just don't. So like, no, that's immediately CDH then. Okay, anyways, Biorhythm. Here we go. A card that I can nearly guarantee you. Okay, I can't guarantee you, but again, if you've got Expropriate as a game changer, like you're like, okay, like that kind of sets the table for a card like Biorhythm to be like, yeah, it like can win you the game, but like it also costs a ton of mana to do so. Sorcery for 8 mana in green. Each player's life total becomes the number of creatures they control. Yeah, I mean, that's like I cast this, I can win the game type card if I deny you of all of your creatures, and if I've got creatures in play. It takes some setup to do so, obviously. It takes a lot of mana to do so. Like, I think its price spiked, actually, after Wizards took control of the format because, like, people are expecting this to maybe get unbanned. I do think it could get unbanned. I do think it should get unbanned. I think it will get unbanned. I think it's, again, one of those cards where it's like, yeah, it's a game changer. You're not playing this in Tier 1, Tier 2. Tier 3, it's fine as one of 3 game changers. And Tier 4, who cares? So, yeah, I do think that this one actually will get unbanned. Coalition Victory, another one where, yeah, this is a card that is definitely going to get unbanned, in my opinion. It's going to be, like, one of, like, the poster childs of unbannings of, like, hey, like, again, like, we've got these game changers for a reason. This is what they're here for. You can only use this in Tier 3 or Tier 4. And it's a card that's, like, nowhere near as powerful as many things, if not everything, on the game changers list currently. It's just a card that apparently needed to get banned because, yeah, it's a win the game card. There's other win the game cards out there that are better. Sorcery for 8 mana in total. You win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. If you got a 5-color commander, congratulations. You just need that in play, plus a land of each basic land type, or like a card that like makes all your lands each basic land type, which there are those out there. Again, is this any more powerful than Expropriate? No, it is not more powerful than Expropriate. So like, again, if you're using that as like the barometer of, hey, excessively powerful win the game card, it's fine just as a game changer. Yes, Coalition Victory is fine just as a game changer. There you go. Finally, Sway the Stars. This is one that I think probably should get unbanned. It's just kind of obnoxious, so like I don't think it will get unbanned. Like Worldfire is unbanned, but this is banned. Kind of doesn't make all that much sense. Sorry for 10 mana and total. Each player shuffles their hand, graveyard, and permanents they own into their library, then draws 7 cards. Each player's life total becomes 7. Again, it's like basically the exact same thing as Worldfire anyway, like except like Worldfire you're top decking. This you are not, because everyone gets 7 cards, and you're at 7 instead of 1. Like, it's a reset the game card, but again, we already have those cards that are technically legal, but again, like, this is Mass Land Denial, so you can only play it at 4. So yeah, I do think this card should be unbanned, because if you've got the new bracket system, which kind of solves for that, yeah, it's not a card that's even going to see play, really, at 4 anyways, so, like, it's a card you can't play in 1, 2, 3. It's not problematic in 4 or 5, so you might as well unban it, but, like, will they unban it? Again, because of that muddiness of, like, this, again, like... This, oh my gosh, like balance, and then all of like the ETB destroy the lands things, like will that get unbanned? No, probably not, because yeah, Sunring Titan or some Primordial, like I don't think that they're going to get unbanned, because there's not a lot of people who are like pushing for this gun unban, but like should it based on the letter of the law and the way that they're setting things up? Yes, it's not more problematic than like any of the game changers essentially, so there you go. And with that, this episode is come to a close. Make sure you comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.